I'm Carla Reeves, and this is Differently. Whether you feel stuck in survival, navigating a change, or seeking more for your life, may this podcast be your weekly nudge to take a risk to build a life that is uniquely bold, authentic, and in alignment with your deepest values. What if you worried less about the bumps in the road and instead got equipped for the journey? Get ready to rethink what's possible. If you find yourself in the middle of some ups, downs, and in-betweens in life or business, this episode is for you. It's been a minute since I've done a solo. Honestly, I feel a little out of practice. This has been the hardest season as an entrepreneur for me, and the best season in a lot of ways, both personally and business-wise. Hard because it required me to dig deep to keep showing up for my business in the midst of a lot of uncertainty. And also the best because I've learned so much and stretched so much. And that's when we grow, right? I want to be clear, it still feels messy, but I wanted to hop on and share with you some of the highlights and lowlights, but most importantly, the lessons that stand out on this journey so far, because maybe they can help you on your journey. A lot has happened. I missed you. I know that sounds weird, but it's true. I've been literally navigating the ups, downs, and in-betweens. And I talk about this a lot of the time as my mission having to be getting people equipped with tools to navigate the ups, downs, and in-betweens. And I've been using the tools like never before, over and over and over again. Had to remind myself that it's kind of like riding the waves, learning to surf, remembering that the challenges and the problems and the hiccups and the interruptions, they're just waves. And the only thing I need to decide is, am I going to go over or under it? That's it. This became my go-to. So quick update. We moved from our 25-year-old home in January. We were on 4 acres. You may remember in a previous episode that I talked about selling our home and becoming digital nomads. Well, that's the path that we are on, but that door closed quickly when our youngest son called and said he wanted to move home. And honestly, this was the biggest blessing from God, like a huge curveball, a huge pivot in our plans, but the greatest blessing because there were just things that we couldn't see. And we moved from these 4 acres, spacious, to the most amazing cubicle on Main Street, 7 miles away. That's the only way I know how to describe it. It's a completely different universe. In May, we took a 5-week road trip across the country. I think we went through 19 states and stayed in 14 different places. My soul, that desire for digital nomad life, my soul needed this so much, and I'm so grateful, but totally feel like we dodged a bullet because we were incredibly happy to come back to a home, and we've discovered we really are homebodies. On top of this, almost a year ago, I began to feel a little root bound in our old home, in my business. I don't know that I really knew it at the time, but I can see now how we all needed to spread our wings into new territory, personally and professionally. And you may know, if you've been listening for a while, that the work I do has always been a calling, and that calling was asking me to go in a new direction. And so for the last 10 months, I've been quiet. I've had my head down, listening and discerning and trying to figure out what that meant, what this looks like. And I tried to sit down many, many times and map out the entire plan because that's what I wanted. That's what I felt like I needed. But God had a different idea. And every time I sat down to try to map out a plan, I just felt like I hit a wall. And then I clearly felt God say to me, stop trying to have it all figured out. Just show up 10 minutes a day and I'll show you the next step. And it wasn't like I audibly heard God, but I don't know about you, but it's almost like an impression that I feel on my heart. And that's what it felt like. So I've been growing, learning. God's been shaping me. It's been hard. It's been super uncomfortable. And while no one would probably know it from the outside, inside, it's been awkward. I've felt like an awkward teenager. and going through lots of growing pains. Some new things are finally emerging. A new program that we're in the phase of testing and experimenting, and I promise I'm going to have more to share soon. It's taken longer than expected. Not on my time frame, people. Some reshaping of other offerings in my business, greater clarity, greater vision. And I'm growing a team and learning to lead in a new way. Having a team was something I didn't think I wanted, something I hadn't ever really even considered, honestly. And God showed me that this is what was next so that we can share these tools with more people. Because if you're a solopreneur like I am or have been, you know that there's only so much you can do. And I didn't know what I didn't know. And this has honestly been one of those things that I didn't know I needed or how much joy it would be. And I feel like I've had this really cool playground all these years called my work and biz. And it was time to invite more people to play and enjoy. And I guess I've been learning to play too. Who knew play could be so hard? So, as I said, the last 10 months or so have been the hardest and most amazing in my journey as an entrepreneur. And I want to share with you some of the lessons that stand out this far and wanted to pass them along in case they can support you in your ups, downs, and in-betweens. So the first one, we can survive without a plan. If you're like me, you love plans, you love having the list, you love knowing the next step. I tried, believe me, it wouldn't come together, like I said. So I've been just showing up 15 minutes a day, and every single time that has been true. And there's been another piece revealed or another door opened, and I've had to step in faith again and again and again. I guess I needed this practice. So, what's your relationship to having a plan? Are you in a season where having a plan makes sense, or is life calling you to set down the plan? Number 2, it's okay to go slow. And that has been hard for this girl. Before my dad died, I may have said this before, he wrote us, all of us kids, an email. And in that email, it said 3 times, slow down, in all capital letters. I knew he saw something at the end of his life. And I've heard too before that sometimes you have to slow down to speed up. And that's been true for me. But there were lots of rewards in going slow, even though it was grueling. I can see how going slow has supported my marriage and our intimacy and our closeness. Going slow has helped me to be more thoughtful and mindful when I write an email or draft an outline for a program or show up for a coaching call or reading a client's journal. It brings more intimacy, more presence, and more relaxation. Where in your life might you be called to slow down? Number 3, the mind is relentless. And there are certain seasons in our life where those negative thoughts get louder. I think it's when you're onto something, when you're creating something. I found in this journey over the last 10 months that I've had to be so diligent with my mind, slaying the mental dragons. And it wasn't a perfect, it was definitely a practice. And I didn't always have the upper hand of my mind. Sometimes it spiraled me down. But I've never been so grateful to have tools to slay those dragons and to just keep showing up, because there were many days where I wanted to stop, throw in the towel, second guess everything, and honestly still do. In fact, I feel like I had a tantrum just a week or so ago. Quentin reminded me, you're building foundation. This is so important. Don't stop. Don't try to run out the back door. I can see how important this is as entrepreneurs, that we have to keep showing up, even when we can't see the sprouts from all of our planting and work. I've always said that happiness takes a warrior spirit, but so does entrepreneurship. And I talk about this all the time with entrepreneurial friends. We all feel this. It's absolutely normal to have days where you want to lasso the moon and days where you have one foot out the door and everything in between that. It's all normal. Next one, Honor the season you're in. This has been a creative season, and I honestly feel like I've been in hibernation in a lot of ways. And I started to worry that with this big move and new environment and new surroundings and creative season that had my head down, that I was never going to come out of hibernation or want to. But it's happening. It's finally happening. And I actually feel relieved and excited because I was nervous that I was never going to want to come out. So, are you in a creative flow, or are you waiting for a creative flow? Remember that it ebbs and flows, and it's important to kind of clear the space and follow it when that creativity arrives. Have a pen and notebook handy to capture all the ideas. This is where it's healthy to follow the rabbit holes of your ideas until it's not, of course. That's a topic for another episode. The next one, we can be okay in the unknown. I felt like I had to stand here a lot over the last 10 months, and it kind of makes you feel like you're naked, exposed, but it's okay. This time, the most important thing for me to do has been to stay in the presence of God and do the next thing, trusting that even if these ideas never fly, that the journey has been purposeful. And the journey is the most important part. What happens to you when you're in the unknown? How could you change up your dance for a different experience of uncertainty? And lastly, I just want to share that through all of this, it's helped me see that what's my playbook for when the ups and downs and in-betweens are more up and down and in between. It all felt exaggerated. And those things that stand out for me that helped me or have helped me through this time are quiet reflection and time with God every morning. That is just a non-negotiable for me. 2, journaling, because it helped me to pause. It helped me to empty the noise in my head. It helped me to get my head straight and focused on where I was headed instead of all the fear and uncertainty of what could go wrong. Having good people around me, I really saw how much my husband supports me in this and how much I leaned on him when I felt like I was spiraling. And having people around you that remind you of who you are and what you're up to. People that will distract you when you need to be distracted in a good way, to step away. And just that love and support. Moving my body, having movement, taking walks, standing at my standing desk, taking breaks, taking frequent breaks from my desk and from creativity, because sometimes even creativity can get you kind of wound up in knots and excitement, and you need to step away. So lots of breaks. Allowing and receiving, which to me is like a relaxed posture where your heart is open and you're not charging forward trying to accomplish, but more being present and showing up and responding to what's happening. The next one has just been serving. Helping others, being there for clients, getting in their world. That always helps me get out of my head and in my selfishness and get into someone else's world. And I always feel better after doing that. And the last one is just love and gentleness on myself, on others, spending time with my most important people, remembering that my business isn't everything and that there's so much more to life and that I don't have to take it all so serious. Having love for myself has also been recognizing that I don't always have to lead with my strength of responsibility, because that sometimes sucks the life out of everything. So here's the thing. This is a snapshot from my life, but as you were listening, we all are navigating some variation of this in seasons where we have to be more armored up and diligent with our mindset and persistent and hang on to our bigger dreams and desires so that we can keep showing up in the face of not feeling like it. Because everyday life has some similar landscape that we're navigating. These things helped me so much, and I hope that they shine some light for you today, wherever you find yourself. I will never forget the day and the season that I was experiencing just feeling emotional and stressed. And Quentin, my husband, said to me, "It's just a wave." And I remembered, oh yeah, I'm just surfing, and these are all the waves of life. And that changed everything. No need to get all worked up and dramatic. There was just a choice. Was I going to go over or under the wave? That's it. Isn't that the best? I tend to overcomplicate it so much. You're going to see some subtle changes and some new exciting things coming in the next 6 months. I hope that you enjoy them. I want to thank you for being a listener of this podcast. If you're getting value from these conversations, I would love to have you help us share this with others who know in their heart that there's more to this experience of life and they're ready and want to go deeper. That's it for now. Thank you for letting me share my journey. I hope that it meets you on yours, and I'll see you next week. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Differently. It's been an honor to share this conversation with you. You know, one of the keys to living fully is to take action when you're inspired to do so. I hope you found that spark of inspiration today. And would you help us spread the word? Did someone you know come to mind while you were listening? If this episode could impact someone you know, please share it and pass it along. New episodes drop weekly, so tap that subscribe button and join us next time as we continue to challenge the status quo and get equipped to live life differently.